Let me ask you something. When someone says Bitcoin is risky, what are they comparing it to? Usually the dollar, or a savings account. The assumption is that dollars are safe and Bitcoin is the risky alternative. But what if that assumption is backwards? What if holding dollars carries risk most people never think about, and the comparison looks very different once you actually lay them side by side? That's what we're doing today. What's up? I'm Sats, and today we're asking the question nobody asks. Is the dollar actually as safe as everyone assumes? Let's keep it simple. I want to start by being clear about what this video is and what it isn't. This is not a video telling you to sell all your dollars and put everything into Bitcoin. That is not what I do, it is not what I recommend, and it is not financial advice. What this is an honest look at two assets that most people never actually compare properly. Because when you do compare them properly, some things become very clear. So let's start with the dollar. Specifically, let's talk about what the dollar actually is and what it does to your money over time. The dollar is what's called a fiat currency. Fiat means by decree. It has value because the US government says it does and because everyone agrees to use it. That works fine as a system. But there is a built-in feature of fiat currency that most people don't fully reckon with. The supply can be expanded at any time by the people in charge of it, and it has been repeatedly throughout history. Here's what that means in practice. A dollar today buys less than a dollar did 10 years ago. Less than a dollar did 20 years ago. Significantly less than a dollar did 50 years ago. This is not a conspiracy theory or a fringe opinion. It is the official, stated goal of the Federal Reserve to maintain roughly 2% inflation per year. 2% sounds small, but 2% per year compounding means that over 35 years the purchasing power of a dollar is cut in half. Your savings sitting in a standard account are quietly losing value every single year by design. Now let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is volatile. Nobody is going to pretend otherwise. Its price goes up and down dramatically, sometimes in a matter of hours. If you check your Bitcoin balance every day, you will have stressful days. That volatility is real and it matters, especially for short-term holders. But here's the thing that changes the picture entirely. Bitcoin has a fixed supply, 21 million. That number is written into the code and nobody can change it. No government, no central bank, no developer. While the dollar supply expands by design, Bitcoin's supply is capped forever. So when you put them side by side, you are not comparing a safe asset to a risky one. You are comparing two different kinds of risk. The dollar carries what you might call slow risk. It is stable day to day. Your balance does not move, but it is quietly losing purchasing power every year, guaranteed by design. The risk is invisible because it moves slowly, but it is absolutely there. Bitcoin carries what you might call fast risk. Its price moves dramatically. You can see the risk. It makes the news. It feels dangerous. But the underlying supply mechanics work in the opposite direction to the dollar. There will never be more Bitcoin. There will always be more dollars. Now I want to address the most common objection to this comparison because it is a fair one. People say, yes, but the dollar is backed by the US government, the most powerful institution in the world. That makes it fundamentally different to Bitcoin, which is backed by nothing. Here is the honest response to that. The dollar used to be backed by gold. In 1971, President Nixon ended the convertibility of the dollar to gold. Since that moment, the dollar has been backed by trust in government decree alone. Not gold, not a physical asset. Trust, which means the dollar and Bitcoin are actually more similar in their foundations than most people realize. Both are backed by belief in the system. The difference is that one system can expand the supply at will, and one cannot. There is another dimension worth thinking about. What happens to the dollar specifically if the United States faces serious fiscal pressure? Rising debt, persistent deficits, loss of reserve currency status. These are not fringe scenarios. They are discussed openly by economists, central bankers, and investors. The dollar's strength rests on global confidence in the US economy and institutions. That confidence has historically been well-founded. But it is not guaranteed forever, and it is not infinite. Bitcoin, by contrast, does not rely on the health of any single country or institution. It runs on a global network. It does not care who is in the White House, what the Federal Reserve decides, or whether the US debt ceiling gets raised. It just runs. None of this means Bitcoin is without risk. Let me be completely straight with you on that. Bitcoin is a young asset. It is volatile. It could face regulatory challenges. Technology evolves and nothing is permanent. Anyone putting money into Bitcoin needs to understand they are accepting significant short-term price risk in exchange for what they believe is a better long-term value proposition. But the framing of dollars equals safe and Bitcoin equals risky is too simple. It ignores the slow, steady, guaranteed erosion of purchasing power that comes with holding fiat currency. It treats invisible risk as no risk at all. The more honest framing is this. Dollars are low volatility but carry guaranteed inflation risk. Bitcoin is high volatility but carries no inflation risk by design. Neither is risk-free, they just carry different risks on different timeframes. For most people, the sensible answer is not to choose one or the other entirely. It is to understand both properly, decide how much of each kind of risk you are comfortable with, and build accordingly. A small allocation to Bitcoin as a hedge against dollar debasement is a position that serious investors, including some of the largest institutions in the world, have arrived at independently. The question is not whether Bitcoin is risky. Everything carries risk. The question is whether the risk profile of Bitcoin makes sense as part of a broader picture when you understand what you are actually comparing it to. All right, let's bring it together. The dollar is not risk-free. It carries guaranteed inflation risk by design. The Federal Reserve's stated goal is to erode purchasing power by roughly 2% per year. Over decades, that adds up to a significant loss of value. Bitcoin is volatile in the short term. That risk is real and visible. But its supply is fixed forever. There will never be more Bitcoin. That is the fundamental difference. When you compare them properly, you are not comparing a risky asset to a safe one. You are comparing fast visible risk to slow invisible risk. Two different kinds of risk on two different timeframes. Understanding both is how you make an informed decision. Not hype, not fear, just a clear picture of what each one actually is. If this gave you a different way of thinking about risk and money, hit subscribe and drop a comment. Has this changed how you think about your savings? I genuinely want to know. Here are the two videos I'd suggest watching next. On if you want to understand why Bitcoin has value in the first place, that video builds the full case from the ground up. And if you want to understand how inflation is affecting American savings right now and how Bitcoin fits into that picture, that video goes deep on the numbers. Stack smart, stay curious, see you in the next stack.